All right, I felt the need to make this video, and looking at this price, here's the thing that I want to tell you. So if you've been watching my channel for a while, you saw that I pretty much hit the nail on the head calling for a correction. I said that Bitcoin would correct from from $60,000 to $45,000. This is about a month ago, and then it corrected from 58,000 to 43,000. So I pretty much hit the nail on the head. Either the $15,000 correction, I was off by $2,000 from the high point to the low point. And so, to be honest with you, I saw we recovered, we gained all of that back, and then I didn't see this correction coming. I kind of did, and I'll explain that. But I honestly, I mean, if you were to put a gun to my head and I saw when we went to 61,000, where we were going from there, if we were going higher or lower, my guess would have been that we were going higher. And so here we are at 51,000, got as low in 50,500 or so today, and I'm scared. But why am I scared? Am I scared for myself, for my portfolio? No, not at all, because I'm not anywhere near selling, and you shouldn't be either. Disclaimer, this video is for entertainment purposes only. Do your own research before investing your hard-earned money. But guys, if you are, the reason why I'm scared is because a lot of you, a lot of friends in my life, a lot of you watching this video have bought Bitcoin and other cryptos because of me. And so I just feel this weight of responsibility that I don't want you to sell, and I don't want you to sell, especially if you're at a loss. I just don't want you to sell, period. But I'm afraid that some of you may be looking at this and starting to panic, and there's no reason to panic. And so, all right, let me just share with you the metrics. Now, one thing I like to do on this channel is I don't like doing technical analysis. And the reason why I don't like doing technical analysis is because that's all short-term stuff. But I do like to look at metrics. I like to look at medium to long-term metrics to get a lay of the land and understand where we're going to be in the next month at the shortest to the next year. I mean, we see a W pattern forming out here, and you might be watching this video and my guess is that by the time you watch this video, that Bitcoin will be higher because we see a W pattern and Bitcoin's going higher. But I could be wrong about that because technical analysis is something that predicts with about 67 to 70% accuracy where we're going in the short term. I just don't care about the short term. I care about the rest of this year, and I care about the next decade and 20 years and 50 years. I care about my grandchildren having Bitcoin. So I don't care if this price is going to be higher in an hour, but I do care that it's going to be much higher a year from now, 4 years from now, etc. So let me show you the metrics that I pay attention to in understanding where we are going with Bitcoin over the medium to long term. Medium being 1 to 6 months, long term being longer than that. First of all, the thing that is absolutely the most convincing thing to me. Again, I know I've shared this on this channel multiple times. I just don't see any of the big YouTubers talking about this. But look at this, Bitcoin liquid supply change. What are we seeing here? We're seeing, here we are, this thankfully has been circled, is Bitcoin liquid supply change. You see all this red here, all this red recently. What is that? That is people taking their Bitcoin from exchanges into cold storage. The amount of Bitcoin that is on exchanges that is available to be bought is drying up. And we see this being played out here. And we're seeing, especially, I think yesterday or this past week, we're seeing the largest amount of Bitcoin being pulled off of exchanges literally ever. And you compare this to the peak, if you follow my mouse, the peak in 2017. I mean, you see a whole lot of green there, increasing liquid supply. What is that? That's people putting their Bitcoin onto exchanges, getting ready to sell it. And of course, the price of Bitcoin crashed after that. If I was afraid that Bitcoin was going to crash right now, I would be seeing the same thing here. But instead, I'm seeing an unbelievable amount of people, amount of whales, etc., pulling their Bitcoin off of exchanges. And so whatever's going on in the short term, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay, so this alone is enough for me to just kind of be like, chill, I'm not worried about the price of Bitcoin right now. Yes, I didn't expect it to go from 61,000 to 51,000, but I'm still not worried. Next. This is something to also keep an eye on, open interest on Bitcoin options. There is a record, there's $6 billion in Bitcoin options set to expire on Friday, as in tomorrow. And the previous record was at the end of January, where it was 4 billion in options that were set to expire then, and we've gone up 80% since then, or we went up 80% since then. And so that didn't happen immediately in January, but it happened very soon after, where all those options expired and the price of Bitcoin went up. I expect the same thing to happen now. I expect April to be a month where we reach record highs, and for May to be a month that blows April out of the water. And so, you want to sell now? Bitcoin. Here's the thing that is amazing to me about Bitcoin: it's really simple, and yet it's incredibly difficult to execute. Bitcoin. Here's what you should do with Bitcoin: buy and hold and never sell. Simple, right? But man, I'm watching the price daily, and it's easy in theory, but not quite in practice, I'll tell you that. So it's tempting, right? It's tempting to not execute this really simple plan, but that's what you got to do, is buy and hold and never sell. And don't get caught up in this. We are so early still. I mean, we're probably about in the middle of this bull run, but we're early. And the bulk of the action is still to come as far as the price is concerned. So pay attention to that. After Friday, I do expect the price to go up, and I expect over the next 2 weeks or so, for us to have forgotten about this dip to $50,000. I saw this hilarious tweet, by the way. Something, we used to joke about how we would complain about dips to $50,000 back when Bitcoin was at $3,000 a coin. And I thought that was brilliant, So let's move on. Mayer multiple. I've talked about this on this channel as well. And all right, I've got to zoom in here and not just click that magnifying glass. But just as a way of reminder, the Mayer multiple is the ratio of the Bitcoin price to its 200 days moving average. Today's Mayer multiple is 1.86. That is a good buying signal. Anything under 2 for the Mayer multiple is phenomenal for a buying opportunity. And so here we are. We see this on the chart here. We are at a low. I mean, last time this Mayer multiple got this low was on the run up to $42,000 on January 8th. And so for the Mayer multiple to be here, I mean, it did bottom out, actually. Now that I'm seeing it here, let me just zoom in on that a little bit more. So we did see a little bit when Bitcoin got down to $28,000 a coin. It got a hair lower than here, but I mean, this is a good indicator that we are near a bottom here. Again, anything under 2 in a bull run is a phenomenal opportunity to be stacking those sats. Okay, so pay attention to that. If you need to get refreshed on the Mayer multiple, I would encourage you to do that. And what else? All right, fear greed index. So fear greed index, as of yesterday, we were a score of 60 on greed. That may seem kind of sad to you, but we really need to be looking at this on a scale of 40 to 100 in this bull run. I'll be talking about that in a second. So I would guess that today, so this is yesterday's score. I know it says now as in now, but what we're going to see is actually the fear greed index is probably around 55, maybe a little lower than that at this moment. And so this score of 60 is, we're going to update. Here we go. We'll update in 8 hours, 19 minutes, and 31 seconds. And I would expect to see a fear greed score of about about 55 or so. And so why do I say 40 to 100 is, again, because we're in a bull run. We've had moments of extreme greed where the greed scale was at 95 to 100, and that lasted for months. And that's how it happened, is that like when we top out at 100, that doesn't necessarily mean that you should sell. You might actually miss out on amazing gains if you sell when you see this thing top out at 100. But the low points, again, during this bull run is around 40. And so we saw it get down to 38 on March 1st. What was March 1st? I think there was some kind of FUD that was spread. I don't remember. January 21st and 23rd, there was some Tether FUD. There was some FUD about a double buy, which would be awful for Bitcoin, but that's not what happened. And so you see this get down to around 40, and it's like you hit that buy button. I mean, we haven't gotten really that much below 40. I'm seeing 38 here throughout this bull run, except for last year when there was the all the coronavirus fears, and the price of Bitcoin crashed and bounced back up quite nicely. But if this thing gets to 40, absolutely, that's the low, or 38, and that's a phenomenal buying opportunity. Something else that's encouraging for me is Bitcoin trends. I'm gonna make myself smaller here. And we're seeing a trend score from the past 25 years, not 25 years, the past 5 years at a score of 23. This peaked out during this cycle at a score of 52 in comparison to the peak of the bull run of 100. I would guess sometime during this bull run that we will see this score, that we will see a peak score much higher than this. But you see, the Google Trends is a really good timer for timing peaks and for timing buying opportunities. I see a score of 23 in comparison to the score of 100, and I'm saying, there's another really good buying opportunity. So these are a bunch of metrics, and if you've been watching this, I'll get to this in a second. You've been watching this channel for a while. You know that a huge indicator for me about like when is a good buying opportunity, when is a good selling opportunity, is the MVRVZ score. This is what I used to call for that correction from 60,000 to 45,000 that ended up being actually 58 to 43, is that I saw this Z-score at 7, and I was like, getting a little too hot. And so we topped out on March 13th at 6.5, and that's when we were at $61,000 a coin. And so it's not all that surprising for me to see it go down, but we'll talk about that later. But definitely check that out and compare it to trends as well, to Google Trends. So aside from all of these metrics that I'm looking at, the amazing thing to me about all of this is that there has been some incredible Bitcoin news over the last 24 to 48 hours. I mean, the biggest two things is Goldman has filed for a Bitcoin ETF, and Fidelity has filed, oh my goodness, okay, Fidelity has filed for a Bitcoin ETF as well. And so Fidelity Investments is preparing to launch its own Bitcoin fund as the investment giant works to cement its clout in the market for digital assets. And so we don't have right now a Bitcoin ETF available in the United States. And so what's the deal with that? Here's the thing that's just going to be amazing about this is, all right, let me go back to the chart here, and I'm going to expand this to a daily chart. And so look at the thing that I want you to look at is the volume here. Look at early on here. I mean, we see huge volume back in January, and then we see some high volume at the end of January, some medium volume in February, but we're seeing some really low volume from between February and now. And so it seems like we might be running out of steam a little bit as far as the purchasing is concerned. But with that being said, all right, Canada launched a Bitcoin ETF about a month ago, and almost immediately they stacked about 11,000 Bitcoins in their fund because of all of the interest in that ETF. So imagine what that looks like, the scale of that in the United States when Goldman, when Fidelity, I mean, there's plenty of ETFs that are trying to be launched right now. But when those ETFs are launched, I mean, man, the 11,000 is going to be small. And so, I mean, I would guess six figures in Bitcoins, in Bitcoin, I should say, probably more than 100,000 Bitcoin will need to be taken off of exchanges and held in cold storage. And so what's that going to do for volume? That's going to be pretty significant volume wise. And so low volume now, and that may cause some kind of stagnation, but there's several indicators that volume is going to pick up as major, and I mean top of the line, major institutions get into this, but not only institutions, but countries as well. There's rumblings, I'm not going to get into this too much, but there are rumblings that governments are looking even more so than ever before to be stacking those sats, So what does that mean? Man, that means that volume will have to pick up. And so that's going to be a huge boost for the price. What else do I have here? Here's another thing to keep in mind. I mean, we peaked out at 61,000 only 13 days ago. Only 13 days ago. And there are going to be stretches during this bull run where it just feels like this never-ending point of stagnation. Like, what are we doing with Bitcoin? Is the bull run over? I mean, look at this. Okay, so price of Bitcoin on May 24th of 2017, 23.48, and then it was just flat and flat and flat, and July 18th, 2 months later, 21.89. July 21st, 27.40 before shooting up. That was a period of 2 months where we were in a bull run. We knew we were in a bull run, and yet the price of Bitcoin was flat for 2 months during that bull run. I mean, is that going to happen this time? Are we in that period right now? I don't think so, because I think April and May are going to be huge months for Bitcoin, but it is entirely possible that we could be looking back a month from now and being like, when are we going to see some price action here? It's just, I don't know. It's like, again, with volume's been low that's January 31st. That's almost 2 months that volume has been low. And what happened when this big, beautiful green candle launched? Well, that was when it was announced that Tesla had bought $1.5 billion of Bitcoin, and that kind of was a catalyst to shoot us forward. And there have been other catalysts, but at the same time, it's like the volume wasn't there. Tesla bought Bitcoin back when the volume was much higher. So, all that to say, you've got to be patient. I know that we want it now. I want it now. I want my $200,000 Bitcoin now. I truly, truly believe that we are going to see a $200,000 Bitcoin this year. It's just get ready for 2021 to be a difficult but rewarding year, and don't get too impatient with that. So again, I've talked about MVRVZ score, and I just want to address again where I think we're going. I think April and May are going to be huge months for the price of Bitcoin. I think we're going to see this Z-score shoot up close to 10, maybe even reaching 10 sometime in May. And then that's going to be a signal that a major correction is coming, maybe like a blow off double top, maybe as much as 50% correction in May. And if that does happen, I don't see it correcting from 100,000 to 50,000. I would see it correcting from like much higher than that. Let's just say 150,000 to 75,000. So what I think this bull run is going to feature that's different than 2017. 2017 had 7 or 8 corrections that were between 30 and 38%. I think this is going to have 7 or 8 corrections that are between 20 and 25%. And then one major correction that's going to be like 40 to 50%. And that correction will be before Bitcoin reaches the stratosphere. And so what does that look like? I don't know. Pay attention to this, because I think this will be an indicator. As you can see, this was within a week of the blow-off double tops, or the blow-off double top in 2013 and the peak in 2017. This is a really good indicator as far as predicting when you should sell. It's a forward-looking indicator. And so once we will see an MVRVZ score of 10 in this bull run. We might see it more than once. I think we will see it more than once. And when that time comes, that's a good time to, when you see that hit 10 within a few days, if you're in it for short-term gains, you hit the sell button. But honestly, I think we're about to enter a fun stage. And here's an aggregate. And this is going to be the last thing that I talk about here. This chart right here is not predicting, but averaging. And this is an aggregate of, post-halving, what happens to the price of Bitcoin. This blue line that you see in the middle here is kind of the aggregate, an average between the two. And so according to this, if we were to stay right in between the 2013 and 2017 bull runs, then we would see a price of $100,000 on April 18th. We would see a price of $387,000 on May 12th. And then kind of, going down from there and settling October 17th, a price of $286,000. I absolutely do not think that this is what's going to happen. But again, post-halving, both times, there was a fun stretch. We are about to enter a very, very exciting time for Bitcoin. I do believe that that's happening. That's coming, and we'll see. So, guys, hold strong. Again, let me just point out, if we were at the peak right now, we would be seeing a lot of green on this chart. We are nowhere near the peak. Nowhere near it. So, until then, keep stacking those sats. And if you have any questions, comments, let me know what you think. I hope that you're not tempted to sell. I am zero tempted to sell. And hold strong. Over the next couple of days, we could see 40s, not going to lie. But we could also see this being the bottom. We will see. So until then, peace out. Have a great week, great weekend. Peace.